With the miraculously exceptional conclusion of Andor Season 2 and Cassian's story now complete, I'm left with a very serious, almost sacrilegious, and previously unthinkable question. That being, is this show the best Star Wars has ever been? Honestly, it's kind of weird and uncomfortable for Star Wars to be this good. Like, I am not used to this, because Andor actually taps into why I fell in love with this world to begin with, while still evolving the universe and showcasing new things about it we've never seen before. I was kind of giving up hope and pondering if perhaps this franchise just isn't for me anymore. Before the Empire, I mean Disney, to their credit, inexplicably delivered for once, and actually gave me everything I could have wanted in a Star Wars TV show, in that it's just quality television up there with the very best that just so happens to take place in the same universe as some of the most embarrassing things ever put to screen.
Fellow senators.
Ingeniously, Tony and his team take what works when you're a kid, the struggle between good and evil, fun, memorable characters, and what is simply a cool sci-fi space opera universe, and for the first time truly evolves it for the grown adults who are probably the majority of the viewership for this stuff. The pitiful nostalgia for what came before ran dry pretty quick, so the series needed to evolve to survive or succumb to the already pretty strong sense of irrelevance and ambivalence that's been circling the franchise in recent years. Like, as an example, it's such a natural development to flesh out the previously quite silly, unscary Empire and the simplistic good guy rebellion, yet it's so difficult to actually do in practice. But the results are astounding, and both factions at the core of Star Wars are just astonishingly more interesting now than they ever were before. Where other Disney products have faltered in their monotony and mediocrity, Andor just excels in every department. It's the most well-written Star Wars, the most politically poignant, definitely one of the best looking, with so many impressive sets and real locations, not actors stood in front of a big fuck-off TV. It's got, honestly, the best world building, unparalleled production design, brilliant music, seamless effects, and without doubt, the strongest and most nuanced performances. Of which I cannot pick a favourite because everyone is at the absolute peak of their powers. Exceptional work all round. I have no notes. This show is so good, I can probably name 30 side characters who come in, steal the show, and are in an instant more interesting than franchise characters like... I'm not gonna say who, I'll get into trouble. But I adore how they take characters who I previously didn't care about or didn't ever think about, and turns them into some of the strongest, most elaborate personalities the series has seen, like in the case of Cassian and Mon, while the newly created main characters like Luthen, Clea, Bix, Dedra, and my boy Cyril are instant outstanding all-timers. But it's the overall change in tone that is Andor's strongest modification to the familiar formula. It's darker, grittier, as you feel the universal weight of the oppression and the struggle against it on both sides. It's more thoughtful and reflective. Those in this fight aren't solely here because it's what they believe is right, but because of how we've seen their lives shaped by the system that dominates them. Lives which have never felt more real, where every person believes they're the hero of their own story. Motivations are complicated and cloudy as the viewer can come to their own conclusions, and the right moments are left to interpretation, while you're left to contemplate its complex messages yet distinct, powerful themes. It's rightfully serious and gut-wrenchingly brutal, but has moments of levity and hopefulness when it needs to ultimately reflect why people will always try and fight against tyranny for the freedom they deserve. After 45 years, it was just about time Star Wars grew up, and Andor made the impossible happen. Resultantly, the quality of writing on display here is staggering for Star Wars, and such a treat for a franchise that I've sadly never really been able to take that seriously with its wider world building, outside of the general coolness, the look and feel of the films created. Here, this is a living, breathing world in a way it has never been before, where characters talk like actual people who have palpable, realistic, sophisticated drama, which builds to intricate conflicts and unforgettable set pieces, all as part of this broader backdrop of the systematic yet desperate need for constant empirical control and adversely an ongoing struggle against such unnatural tyranny and oppression. This is so fucking good. What do you mean this is actual Star Wars?
I burned my life to make a sunrise that I know I'll never see.
This is very, very bad. Oh, go.
But then I think, of course this is actual Star Wars, because Star Wars is at its core brilliant. But I reckon that I and many others had just begun to sadly forget that, as the franchise is clouded over by such a miserable corporate malaise. And then bam, Andor just kicks the door down and restores what makes this franchise great just like that. To remind me there is something to this whole Star Wars thing. It makes the series feel special and sacred again. I mean, there was genuinely several occasions throughout where I thought to myself, I cannot believe what I am watching here. How is it this good? However, being the miserable bastard I am, I always have to complain about something because it ain't perfect. Didn't love the goofy turf war. Cinta needed way more screen time if her death is going to be such a grandiose moment, and the time jumps every few episodes were faintly jarring in a few places, with 5 originally planned seasons condensed into 2, but minor misgivings aside, it's pretty damn close to perfect, as the most important thing, that being the characters, are all for the most part given the time they need to satisfactorily complete their arcs. It'll be very interesting to see how Disney reacts to the success of this show and assumedly attempts to replicate it. That is, if they ever get over the idiotic assumption that streaming is dead. Morons, if you throw shit at the wall, I'm not gonna sit down and watch it. Funnily enough, you make something good and people do. So it's possible a show with this expenditure, creative freedom and resultant miraculous quality will never happen again. But equally, if it does lead to more exceptional television from this team or others like them, then I'm all for it. Though TV of this quality is immensely difficult to pull off, and I don't want 12 episode seasons of slow build-up and boring characters I don't care about. And I'm not sure I trust Disney to not fuck it up, with this show being the unparalleled exception, not the repetitive rule. I said earlier that it was time for Star Wars to grow up, and for me it was. But that doesn't mean I want everything to be as dark and dismal as Andor from now on. If they can make high-quality, fun adventures that harken back to the lighter tone we're used to, while also having more challenging, contemplative projects to complement them, perfect. Because no matter the tone, what will still connect them, as the very DNA of Star Wars, is those all-important, overarching themes of love, family, friendship, adventure, good triumphing over evil, lasers, rebellion, destiny, and hope. But returning to Andor specifically, I reckon that overall I might just prefer Season 1 to 2 with its insane set pieces, but it's not much of a competition. Together, they create such a memorable, one-of-a-kind experience, especially as Season 2's second half is a generational run, with everyone's story ending on an unbelievably well-executed high, which I shit you not made me fully tear up at fucking Star Wars. But it is so well earned. What is often a bleak and gloomy show ends with a final glimpse of solace, as after 10 years of knowing his irrefutable fate on Scarif, it's revealed that Cassian can finally live on through the family he's created. Like so many along the way, he burns his life to make a sunrise he knows he'll never see, and yet, like Bix says in the show's beautiful closing moments, it's okay. Because we know they all, each and every one of them, made it worth it. And as the sun rises, so does the hope for the new galaxy they helped to create. Yeah, upon reflection, I think this has to be the best Star Wars has ever been. Since 1980, that is, Empire Strikes Back is still the insurmountably iconic peak in my humble opinion and can probably never be surpassed. That film is so much better than it has any goddamn right to be. It's beautiful, it's momentous, it's gonna have to be its own 2-hour video. I'd better get to work. But hey, when Andor was first announced to absolute apathy, if you'd have told me I'll be putting it second place to Empire, I probably still wouldn't have expected it to be as good as it is. I'm just enjoying the fact that this happened because there's a good chance it never will again. But if I was wrong about disregarding Andor when it was first announced, who knows what could still be to come. Perhaps Star Wars still has some wonderfully creative, emotional and impactful stories to tell after all. And just maybe, this show has instilled some all-important hope about the future of our favourite galaxy far, far away.
Shall I, Candilion?